Hello, everybody, and welcome to another broadcast today. This is a training broadcast, just sharing the nuts and bolts of creating a society. And I'm Rebecca Elise, and this episode is brought to you today by the Prophet Society. Joining me again is Greg Wolf, who assists every single one of our potential members and our existing members in securing and structuring their own society. Guiding and assisting them through the entire process. So thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. So we want you to know that nothing we say has to do with any financial advice or medical advice or any kind of license advice. We are just giving some information. It's kind of for entertainment purposes, and also if you were similarly situated, how we would interact. And so we just wanted to say that and put that as disclosure.
Very good. So someone who has watched our videos and is very interested in creating their own society, what would you say you would like them to be acquainted with in, first becoming a member of our society and then creating their own society?
Right. So these are people that we are just hopefully on the same page. We have the same mindset. They look at the world with a little bit different kind of view. This is probably more of the 4% of the people out there, I think, on the planet. These are people that are not exactly happy with the status quo. They know that there's something more to life, and they know that, and they don't flow with just the status quo. Just like I was listening to a health professional, not a licensed health professional, but a man who really helps people to guide people through nutritional understanding in life. And he was saying about 4% of the people out there are really proactive with their health. Mm-hmm. They seek to get the best, nutrition, the best technology, and they're not looking towards the pharmaceutical companies or licensed professionals actually to necessarily give them the best advice. So they might use a licensed professional, but it's clearly to diagnose something or to identify something, but then they're going to go after the natural thing. And there's only about 4% of the people that do that. The 96% of the people just say, hey, listen, just, doc, please just tell me what's wrong and give me a pill. So I think we end up with a lot of those people. Those are a lot of the people that are going to come forward in this kind of environment. So there was a book that was written back in 1996 by James Dale Davidson and Rees Mogg, which they had done a number of books before this, actually talking about the fall of the Berlin Wall and a number of things, the breakup of the Soviet Union, a number of different financial crises. So one of them was called Blood in the Streets, and the other one was called The Great Reckoning. And then they came out with this book called The Sovereign Individual. And that was an amazing book, The Sovereign Individual. And it has nothing to do with being sovereign like the tin hat, foil-wearing, crowd that wants to get rid of, and I'm not speaking down about anybody, but wants to get rid of their social security number and their birth certificate if they think they can, and things like this. That has nothing to do with that kind of sovereignty. It has to do with the sovereign individual really has to do with a person that is able to manage their own affairs. Self-government. And self-government is not just doing whatever you want to do when you want to do it.
Sure.
And affects anybody else, who cares? It is more on, I think, like a lot of the ancient writings that talk about self-governing is really being able to govern your own emotions, your own state, your own affairs, your own finances, and being benevolent to others. And so the sovereign individual, I'll just read you a short clip from it. It says, they talk about the greatest economic and political transition in centuries. Okay, the shift from the industrial to an informational-based society, which we're seeing. And it says this transition, which they have termed the fourth stage of human society, will liberate individuals as never before, irrevocably altering the power of government. And they talk about a number of things in the book. It's a great read. I don't want to say it's required, but I would love people to read it and get an understanding of it, because it was talking about how things would transpire and what kind of things would happen, the dynamics that would happen in this information-based society, and especially how they talk about, they predict the transition to competitive territorial clubs. They use this a number of times in the book, and it's interesting because these competitive territorial clubs, that's what we're seeing. Okay, so those kind of clubs have been, and I think we referenced some of this the last time we talked. Those kind of clubs have been around for the elite for a long time.
Yes.
Those that had the money, the people. These territorial clubs are more or less going to be kind of internet based, and it doesn't mean that they won't have to go to a general jurisdiction at some points in time, but mostly they're a private club. Okay. And so these societies that we're trying to help people to understand how to create or how to operate with are even, you can best look at them as a private club. Okay, so, and club membership has its rewards. So that having the understanding of the authors of The Sovereign Individual and some of those things would be a big boost.
It's not necessarily required reading, but inspired reading.
Yes.
Inspired, right. It really helps things to come together. It helps you to formulate a plan for yourself. I love the fact that when I was reading it and I started getting interested in how that perspective, which was so long ago, it was like in the 90s, late 90s, when it was written, how today it is now all coming together for us. We wouldn't even understand if we were to read it back then as much as we understand it today. So it's really inspired. I love that book.
Yeah. So that's probably one element. Another would be there's people with needs. There's the type of people that want to create a society and that would benefit heavily from a society. Just take one category, and I think we talked about a little bit before, but it'd be doctors. It would be health practitioners that want to, that are not necessarily just going down the straight, medical route, but they're realizing that there's these incredible things that are being discovered out here. There's oils that are incredible. There's
essential oils,
different and essential oils too that are incredible. There's and operating with those things is looked at by the regular public sometimes, and those that control the public in the media, as no-nos for some reason. But within a private club, it's totally different. There's so much latitude, within a private club and club membership. So that is one of the benefits, and somebody that sees themselves as in that, and utilizing the club membership for that. And they realize it would be beneficial, but they don't quite know how to do it. It's just like I've talked with numerous attorneys and also CPAs, and they knew that some of these things were available. They knew of some of the code sections that I bring up. They knew these things, but they've never known how to really put them together. And then there's a way to do it that just flows, legally, transparently, with the most protection. And so that's what we bring to the table. That's what we're trying to discuss. We bring that component to the table. So
membership within the Prophet Society is really kind of an education platform for bringing members to us that then we assist in guiding through that process. Did I explain it?
I think that's
pretty clear. Okay,
that's a good.
That's good. So let's talk about, let's see, what do I have here? Um, so I had asked, what would you like to be what would you like us to be, or new members acquainted with in creating their own society? I think you and I spoke before the broadcast about establishing the society and then memorializing it on paper.
Yes.
So help us understand that.
Yeah, so that's what has to be done. It has to be, I mean, you really need it to be done that way. You could have everything in your head, and I'm sure there's people that have operated that way, but um, it doesn't give you much peace of mind when you're being attacked, or if you ever do get attacked or you get questioned.
Mm-hmm.
And so having the documents, like for instance, when we help people to put together their religious order, their religious society, their private club, okay? And there's many things that go into this. There's many components of this, okay, that are necessary. And I think we went into that a little bit on the other broadcast, but there are reasons why you want several different entities within that society.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have the main society. Now, unlike uh, people out there that are, I would say, originators of LLCs, and they have an LLC sitting on the shelf that has been, um, so to speak, so many years.
Mm-hmm.
They would say it's aging. Okay, mm-hmm. it's they sell those at a higher price.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that. You can't do that. It's illegal to do that. Okay, so all of the stipulations and regulations with the Secretary of State's office state that a religious order can't create itself. You cannot be sold one, okay, and you can't transfer one. I mean, mm-hmm. through the exchange of money. So you can't purchase one. So all the religious orders and the societies, the articles of incorporation and supporting documents and materials that are filed with the Secretary of State, mm-hmm. we have one specific Secretary of State that we go through. It's required by the state, okay, that the administrator, all right, do this. And that's where the hand-holding comes in. Mm-hmm. That's where mm-hmm. we are with you the whole time. Mm-hmm. We help you drop the paperwork. It's not that you're figuring this all out and you're right. Typing the words, okay? Mm-hmm. We're presenting you with, and you're agreeing and saying, yes, I like this. And then because it says that it is you have to be the incorporator. Mm-hmm. Okay, the state statute stipulated that you, as the existing officer of the existing religious society, must make, subscribe, acknowledge, and file the articles of incorporation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, those articles of incorporation, okay, that are being filed with the Secretary of State's office, okay, they are recognizing what they are doing is they're saying this unincorporated body over here mm-hmm. exists. Okay, so this is an unincorporated body over here, which is the society, the religious order. This incorporated part over here is just the memorialization okay. of that society on paper and with the Secretary of State's office so that it can be out there in case it's ever questioned. Mm-hmm. Okay, you don't want these to be secret. Mm-hmm. And we've ran across gurus out there that try to do things like that, and they're putting their people in very bad place. Mm-hmm. I go into that in detail, but hopefully we won't need to. There's a lot of things that we do having done this for over 20 years. There's a lot of things that we do in order to help you in the fastest way, mm-hmm. the most comfortable way, and knowing that things are taken care of and every I is dotted, every T is crossed. Yeah. And so, and then you have a number of other, entities within it. But I think that part is what you were asking.
Yes. Yeah.
With the Secretary of State's office and getting the society recognized, yes. and getting that on paper and putting all the documents in place.
Yeah. So in this video, we're just going to be explaining a little bit more about the step-by-step process that you would experience while in becoming a member, and then what you would experience in the membership, what we provide as far as services and value that makes it that much easier to put this together. So because we know that this language is new to some, or maybe they've experienced other types of entities that we have to make some distinctions on. So this is what we're here to train on, and we really appreciate the fact that our members are willing to go through this kind of training so that it becomes easier for them.